counting me out, thought the story was over. But I had that holy exit spirit on my shoulder. Devil made his move, thinking God was a no-show. Now I'm operating different. Call it God mode. Yeah. Spirit got me wide.
USU! What it do? It's the Dean. It's Friday. It's your faith-filled Freedom Friday. The first one of the 2026 school year. And I ain't even talking to y'all as Coach K. I ain't even coming to y'all as Dean of USU, Chairman of USU. Today, I get to be the shepherd of the remnant, and I want to brag on my babies. All right, today, I want to do nothing else but talk to you as a spiritual father who wants and deserves to brag on his babies. Since COVID, y'all heard me talk to y'all a lot about our sons, the Believing Soldier Battalion, my JROTC platoon, and I love my boys. Been talking to y'all about what's going on with my boys, what we got to do for my boys, how we got to raise them, how we got to cover them, how we got to correct them, how we got to love on them, how we got to develop them, how we got to teach them what it means to be a kingdom man of God, give them a messianic example of real masculinity, and that's important. But put it to the side for a moment, because this Friday, I'm bragging on my babies, my geniuses, my baby girl geniuses of Urban Success University. Because while everybody else been yappity yap, my baby's been building quietly behind the scenes. They've been learning, they've been testing, they've been studying, they've been creating, they've been figuring this new marketplace out. And since it's Black Business Month, right, since our founder, Yolanda Denise King's father, Martin Luther King Jr., said silence in certain pivotal moments is betrayal. Let me not betray our founder, not betray, well, under her, they were creative artists. Under my leadership for the past 20 years, they little AI artisans, and I'll be damned if I'm going to betray my geniuses. Time to scream from the rooftops. Show y'all what these amazing prophetic princesses have built. Yeah. Y'all hear me? Popping my snizney as a proud daddy today, so excuse me as I brag on my superstars, my superstar achievers, my geniuses, my prophetic princesses of the pavement. Y'all don't know. We done grew together. Thank God. We out the batty with brains face. No, we ain't doing that. We not reducing my babies. They not them girls. They our girls. Fuck that. Watch your mouth. They mine. And we ain't reducing my urban babies to a baddie who also happens to have a brain. Nah, little baby, you got a brain, you got brilliance, and you got boobs and a little booty. But you know what your most powerful and profitable God-given asset? Your brains, not your boobs or your booty. You got brilliance, you got a business, you a builder, you're a blessing, you are up a genius. And if y'all not up on lingo, but genius means baby girl genius. And y'all like, well, what they've been building? Well, first off, they've been building it through their brains over boobs movement. Y'all see the Kingdom Marketplace? Y'all know I done been involved in launching some stuff. You like, K, then launch the new ecosystem. No, I ain't do that. My babies built this. Yeah, it's different over here. It didn't start because I wanted to launch a tech company. Didn't start because AI became popular. Didn't start because ChatGPT starts showing up. It started because I did what a daddy does. Daddy King would always ask, are you listening? You know what I did? I listened to our daughters. And see on this side of COVID, right here. And and ATL. Our daughters, you know, I walk them into the Coretta Scott Young Women's Leadership Academy in 2007 after our founder ascended. Okay. 2012, we organized 75 youth organizations, marched 1,000 black babies from Booker T. Washington High School, right, with Ted Jackson, Fulton County Sheriff, the A.D. King Youth Empowerment, Reverend Dr. Albert Ball Brinson, Naomi Barbara King, down MLK, Pastor Richard Russell, over to the Gold Dome. Guess what? I'm available. They've seen me and felt my prophetic presence in their life. They quantify and qualify me as someone who genuinely cares. So you know what they do? They transparent with me. Y'all pray for me. All right. And they be telling me what really be going on. And inside of COVID, as Fulton County, Big Brothers Anonymous, as the Obama Foundation, My Brother Keeper, was getting all the boys together because that's where the funding was, I was talking to a lot of my prophetic princesses. And they was telling me, Dean, when we need money, we ain't got too many choices. Now wait a minute. What y'all doing? I found out that our daughters were being forced to spend $250 for a stripping license. APD sell them. The cat PD. The devil's a fucking liar. Y'all need some money? Now. Not after she get the degree. Not after somebody finally decides to hire her. Right now. And 85 to 90% of the most readily available methods for our daughters to perpetuate a couple of dollars, they are objectifying them. All right? They involve their hands on their knees. Grandma, you don't know what that means. They gonna become a bottle girl. They're gonna succumb to the over-sexualized social media culture. So put a menu up. Right? They're gonna be forced by somebody trying to get them to sell pictures of their boobs and booty. Somebody trying to objectify them. Somebody trying to convince them that the fastest way for them to get to a bag involves showing off their sacred temple. Now hear me clearly, because I manage. I ain't shaming nobody. I ain't throwing rocks at nobody, daughter. Because I don't know what somebody had to do to survive. I don't know what somebody had to do to keep the lights on. I don't know what somebody had to do to feed their baby. That's not my assignment. But as a father, that ain't finna be the only option for my babies. And for every pastor, imam, rabbi that professes to serve our God and is in a position to be a father to the fatherless, this is just a job. You know, that cannot be the only emergency economic option we make available to our urban daughters. The devil's a fucking liar. Not on my watch. Hey, listen, man. If somebody can show one of my daughters how to get a license to monetize her body, then let me be the somebody to show her how to get an LLC and establish a business. Let me teach her how to open up a bank account. Let me teach her how to start establishing some business credit. Teach her how to market. Let me teach her about AI. Let me teach her about sales. Somebody got to do it. Somebody to teach her how to create a deliverable that somebody else will gladly pay for. I mean, somebody got to do it. Somebody got to provide prophetic parenting to this generation. Somebody got to teach her how to turn her phone in her hand into a tool of production, not just consumption. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Faith-Filled Friday Freedom Freestyle. Yeah. My baby's free at last. Thank God. 26, 27 school year. Oh, yeah, they free at last right here in USU. That's what we decided to do. Decided to teach our babies how to launch businesses. Y'all know the formula: find the hurt and heal it. Find the void and fill it. Yeah, I know. We ain't heard it like this before. The message of the Messiah is the same, but the messaging got to change. You know, when Christian nationalism pops up, then it's time for you to be introduced to African Christianity, practically applied in the urban American contracts. See, African Christianity, our African tradition, ain't supposed to be reduced to just shouting about heaven while on Sunday, while people can't figure out how to pay their rent on Monday. That ain't the Jesus I read. The Jesus I read about fed folk. Jesus healed folk. Jesus restored folk. Jesus met the spiritual needs and practical needs of the people of God. Early church understood economy, understood community. They understood making sure nobody in the village went without. Now, that might not be the American version of church, but that sure enough is the kingdom. So if I, as the dean, my second full school year and my second decade as chairman, fuck all that. Jesus took his titles and positions to put it to the side and got down and washed feet. If I, as a son, being conformed into the image of my father, as a father, can see one of my spiritual daughters hurting economically, and all I give her is scripture and no strategy, I'm a fucking sellout. Because faith without work is dead. So we put work on the faith. Now I'm gonna tell you, my babies needed some money. I got relationships. I had a relationship. I didn't really have a relationship with this scumbag. There was this dude, Munir Islam. He owned a trading company called B. He was assembling a global expansion team. I partnered with the weirdo. I didn't partner because I wanted to become a network marketer. I saw a skill set. Okay? That our babies could learn. Taking their money to make money. Okay, I'm in. You're like, why you didn't go with Immunity? That's my guy. I was ripping apart the comp plan. Just making sure my babies learned what they needed to learn. I couldn't disrespect Immunity. I got too much respect for him. And then, the idiot lost a merchant account. Not Immunity, but Munir Islam. And my daughters went from not making money to making money, and they were dependent on that income. Transparent. It was devastating. And that's when I learned something. That we can't build our daughter's economic future on somebody else's company, somebody else's comp plan, somebody else's product, somebody else's opportunity. Damn sure not on somebody else's merchant account. Listen, I made mistakes, but we learned along the way. Right? I realized I needed to teach them something they could own, a skill they could own, a business they could own, a relationship they could own, a reputation they could own, a portfolio they could own, something that can travel with them, something that the Atlanta corporate and political structure can't take from them, something that Georgia can't take, something that a company can't shut down and take from them. And I remembered something, right? Wait a minute. Hold on. Thought about it. From 2007 all the way up to COVID, I had partnered with this printing press to help them develop paper church business directories. Literally worked with 403 churches and individual organizations to develop these paper directories. And in the process, we registered like 48,000 business owners in Georgia, right here. We did 46 of them. Registered 8,200 Christian and community business owners. There's like 500 folk that registered at Elizabeth Baptist Church, about 500 folk at New Birth Baptist Church, about 400 folk of House of Hope, 300 folk on Impact, church by church, community by community. and we had already brought those businesses together, right? And 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 help them stimulate spending when business was brick and mortar, and COVID hit, and business transitioned from brick and mortar to click and order, and an entire generation of entrepreneurs had been thrusted into a marketplace nobody had prepared them for. Nobody sat grandmom down and said, "Grandmom, this was about to happen." No, nobody sat the barber down. Nobody sat the caterer down. Nobody sat the accountant down, the contractor down. Nobody sat the church entrepreneur down and said, we're going to move you into a totally new dimension of business. All right? You know about your physical front door, but now you need to develop a digital front door. And your digital front door, i.e., your digital identity, is about to become more important than your physical door, because it's going to determine how people find you. First, the transition was, well, what's your website like? Then it was your social media. Then it was your Google. Then it was your SEO. Then it was your content. Then it was your reviews. Then it was your email. Now they got some new stuff. Now they're talking about AI. Now they're talking about AI agents. Now they're talking about AI recommendation. And in the midst of all of this, God was speaking. Here's what he told me. He said, you know what? There are a lot of elders who are running businesses that they need to support their households and their lifestyles. And those businesses are now dependent upon tech they don't know nothing about. They busy. They ain't even got time to learn it. They running their businesses, they serving customers, they making payroll, they raising children. They busy being deacons, being ushers, some of them being pastors, they serve in the community. They don't have 25 hours a week to learn to become digital marketers. But guess what? Guess what? Guess who came out the womb with these here devices in their hands? Mama and them 10 years ago. Put that phone down. Put that phone down. Now they talking about, hey, baby, come here and show me how to use this phone. Yeah, my babies. I'm going to tell you something about these little geniuses. They know technology. They know how to move in these digital spaces. They know how to create. They thrive on learning these new platforms overnight. All right? Stuff I sit down and study, they hit 3 buttons. Boom, there you go. Like, oh, okay. Now, I'm thinking, since y'all know so much, since y'all into these little phones, let's put them little brains and them little phones to work. Okay? That's not them little boobs and booty, them little brains. Get it? Brains over the boobs. Now we got one side, your parents, who got the businesses, the experience, the credibility, the customers, the wisdom, the history, the relationships. And y'all got this technology on smash. Creativity, AI fluency, and you ain't got nothing but time. So you know what we're going to do? Since y'all not talking to each other, we're going to bring y'all together. That's the revelation. It's kind of common sense, right? But common sense ain't common. You know, if our daughters can provide the digital services our elders need,